As soon as I get into an organization, I understand who the leaders are and I build those relationships immediately. I get in contact with them and understand what their pain points are and how I can support them so that, through my journey in the company, it will be an amazing one.
Welcome back to Have a Map, where we talk all things career. I'm your host, Mamadou Njai. And today we're going to get into a little bit of the behind the scenes of HR, human resources in that space. For us, we like to understand people and the development, and that's been a big thing for our IO program. So this is like a new space for us and super geeky for me to really talk more in depth about it. But before we do that, I want to introduce one of our rock star interns, Mahir. So Mahir, say what's up to the people.
What is up, people? My name is Mahir Suzuki. I am one of the industrial and organizational psychology interns for DIM Events. I go to grad school at Westchester University, just outside of Philadelphia. I'm deeply fascinated with the inner workings of people in organizations and how not only we can help people enjoy their lives, but how we can also get organizations to kind of help in that fight as well. So I am absolutely honored to be co-hosting with Mo today, and I look forward to learning even more about this field of HR from the behind the scenes standpoint.
Beautiful. And before we introduce our guest, calling from a warmer climate than Chicago, which I'm jealous of, but that is all good. It's a sunny day here, maybe like 55, 56, which is pretty much summertime to Chicagoans. But Mahir and I have always had some really good conversations about HR and human development, but also in the fact of leadership, understanding the new term structure DE and I, right? And we'll maybe talk a little bit about that and what that looks like in the work field as well. But let's introduce our guest today, Cassie, calling in from Dallas, Texas. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I'm so excited to be here today. Like you mentioned, I'm in Dallas, Texas, but I'm actually moving to Seattle next month. So I just have a few more days here. I've been here for 3 years. But yeah, I'm in Dallas, Texas. The sun isn't shining, it's warmer, but the sun is not shining as much as it typically does today. So yes, I'm excited.
Beautiful, beautiful. Excited to hear a little bit more about what you do. So can you tell us a little bit, what would you title yourself? And then we can dig into like what exactly you do.
Okay, so I currently work at Amazon right now. I work at a fulfillment center. So that is where they have all everyone's packages. So I work in a huge 2.1 million square foot warehouse. And there I'm the human resources business partner. So that's the title I have. So as an HR business partner, we really align all of the objectives that we have, especially on the people aspect, to the business objectives of the company. Whatever the goal is on a business level, that's what the HR partner does. And we really collaborate with leaders of the organization, the operations managers, the finance managers, just to make sure that we're all aligned, especially from a people aspect to hitting the organization's goal. So I work on a huge team. Actually, this is the first time I've worked on a large team of HR professionals. So being that we are in a warehouse of 2,200 associates, I'm on a HR team of 12 people. We have several human resources assistants, and they're straight out of college. So a great thing that Amazon does is they hire people straight out of college to give them that opportunity to work in the real world in their dream position. So we have a lot of senior HRAs that we're developing right now. And then I work with other human resources business partners. So that is my title and a little bit of what I do and where I do it.
That's amazing. And really what I'm so curious to know is like, how do you balance between the business side of things, right? Business objectives, because with Amazon M1, we all know Amazon is killing it and there's a huge demand for everything that's going out. But then also like the personal side of it, of how do you keep that balance when, I'm sure there's objectives of things that need to get done in a timely manner, and then some people don't hit those goals or those things. So how do you end up balancing both of those worlds?
So balancing personal and professional when it comes to this HR business thing, it can be challenging because, as you know, Amazon is this huge company, consumer-based company, and they're growing by the minute, and they're growing really fast. So that means we have leaders on the team that we have to get them up to speed on how to manage people, because the more people we bring on, the more people that may need to be managed. So making sure that we give them the skills that they need to manage this large population. And in addition, making sure we're providing the right training so that the packages that we have go out effectively and things of that nature. So it can be hard to balance that, but you have to leverage your team and find out what your team's talents are, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and then delegate those tasks out. So for example, like I mentioned before, we have a large team of senior human resources assistants. I have one that is really good at investigations. Like, I really think that she was a detective in her past life. Then I have one that's really good at training. They were really good at giving presentations in college. They always raise their hand, to read a question. That person you'll put in that position to help with the trainings. So it's just really weeding out your team, finding out their talents, and then, delegating those tasks so that the human resources business partner can focus on the bigger picture of things. And the bigger picture really comes from partnering with those leaders, seeing what their pain points are and how the HR team can support. And also just mitigating any legal aspects of things, because of course our ops leaders are so focused on the operation, like quality, productivity, anything that has to do with the customer. Our ops team is really, really focused on that. So we just support to make sure they remember the people aspect, the engaging aspect, being that great manager, that they need to be to get to the next level. So just balancing it is really understanding, the team that you work with and what their talents are. On a personal level, I mean, there's companies that are really great at understanding what work-life balance is, or work-life blending both of those things together. So I'm really fortunate to have worked with companies that really, take that to heart. So, you come in. One thing I do on a personal level is, I've been doing these things for a long time, so I don't put my work email on my phone anymore. This is actually the first position where I do that, just so that I don't sneak over and answer some emails, and I really do that work-life balance. So that's one tip that I've done, is I don't put the email on the phone anymore. When I get to work, that's when work happens. And of course, my team can shoot me a message if, like, there's a burning building, or we need to catch a baby from the fourth floor or something like that, if it's a real escalation. But that's typically what I've been doing right now, is just keeping them separate.
That's so amazing to hear. So let's talk about COVID. So obviously, Amazon has been one of probably the biggest companies that has been working through the pandemic and things like that. And as an HRBP, I'm sure you faced many successes and challenges. So I was hoping you could tell Mo and I some differences that you've noticed pre-COVID and now kind of like into, I guess, post-COVID, however you want to describe it.
Yeah, so I started working at Amazon post-COVID. So of course, what we see is just taking super precaution as far as making sure we're 6 feet apart, wearing our masks as often as possible. But I can tell you what my experience has been as, like, a new hire coming into a company with COVID at the forefront. And this is just, something so simple, but I really feel like I haven't met my team like that yet, because we've been wearing masks and I don't know what anybody looks like. And I've been there for 6 months. They do a great job of making sure everyone feels inclusive, and, we get to know each other, but I don't know what you look like at the end of the day. And when this whole thing is over and you take off your, I might not be able to point you out in a crowd because, that is how serious we take this thing. So just coming into a new organization and not knowing, if someone is smiling behind the mask or who they are, eventually you get to recognize, everything from the eyes up. But yeah, that is one thing that has been different. Of course, the prior company that I used to work for, unfortunately, I got furloughed because I worked in entertainment. And of course, those businesses shut down because there were no fans. We couldn't serve food anymore. But the process has changed a lot as far as making sure that we have the right people on the team with the right skills to mitigate risk as soon as possible. There was a lot of call to actions that had to happen really quick. Of course, there had to be new ways of training. Everything is done virtually online. So we have to make sure that the trainings that we do still make people feel like they're a part of the company, that they're still having those relationship building skills, because it's a little different doing it online opposed to doing it in person. Another thing is really managing mental health and giving people those days off because, of course, people are going through so many different tragic things, whether they're losing a family member, whether they're going through the sickness themselves, or whether they're just, been stuck in the house working from home and not had any human interaction for months. So just really making sure that, companies are providing that resource for making sure we're good physically and mentally. Those are some of the changes that I've seen hopping from one company to the next during such a like fluid time like this. So it's been so many things.
Well, thank you for that. And we really appreciate that very candid answer in this kind of very tough time. So, tell us a little bit how you got started in the world of HR and kind of becoming an HRBP. Was that kind of one in the same, or did you kind of fall into becoming an HRBP after entering the world of HR?
So, I've been working since I was 14 years old for a very long time. And I don't, I just wanted to find something different to do. Like, I'm from a Nigerian background. So my mom, of course, wanted me to be a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer or something that was consistent and made money. In the culture, that's what you are, a doctor. And that's what you have to be. And I did that for a while, and I realized this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be in a hospital. I just want to get into a position where I can show my personality. I can be myself. I can help people, and just really, really get them to where they have to go, and just really be the actual resources to human. So to be honest with you, I used to work at Lowe's Home Improvement way back in the day, and I was just so fascinated with that HR professional there because it looked like she was the mother goose of the company, that she really cared for each associate. Anytime I needed help, I honestly didn't understand the role, but I just know if I go to her, she will get things done and the way that I needed to be done with care and empathy. And then after a while, I realized this is the HR person. This is what they do and how they do things. So I started, to learn a little bit more about the role. I went and got my bachelor's in psychology since I knew I was going to work with people. I wanted to understand the human mind and how they work and human behaviors. So I did that. Then I went on and got my master's in HR. And then I just let my boss know that I'm really interested in this profession. He gave me some wiggle room to just get into HR, whether it was just starting with assorting files, just so I know what it looks like to have that type of record keeping experience. And it just was on from there. So I started off as an administrator. Then I went into being in startup companies. So I used to love working for startups because everybody is brand new. You can reinvent the wheel as much as possible. It's a trial and error for everything. So I really started off with startup companies, and that's where I was really able to expand my HR experience because, with a startup company, like I mentioned, you're doing things from scratch. So I was able to research things, and they gave me the anatomy to do whatever I thought was going to be great. So then I went on to work in an amusement park where there I was over I don't, have you guys been to New York?
Yes, many times.
Okay. So Coney Island Amusement Park, that's where I got a gist of my HR experience. So I was the HR manager over the entire park there. And that's where I really learned how to use and exercise all of my people management skills in a fast paced environment. As you can imagine, an amusement park, customer base, just really, meeting the guest expectations and helping the other employees get there as well was a task in itself. But I met so many people along the way. And then from there, I went into the sports and entertainment world where I was promoted to the HR director. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, because of the pandemic, they had to let the team go. And then I got into this HR business partner role. So I had a pretty much progressive career along the way. And what helped me a lot was the mentorship that I got along the way, as well as, doing my research, getting my certification, and just really diving deep into what it means to be a successful HR generalist, individual, leader, things of that nature.
Wow, that is like a trip all around everywhere, which is really cool because we were talking about this in a previous podcast, but utilizing those transferable skills and fully putting yourself in there. And I think it's so fascinating. And we talk about this in our internship a lot, where it's like those smaller companies, you can gain so much more experience quicker versus larger companies where it takes a little bit more time to climb up that ladder because you're so focused on maybe one or two tasks because it's a huge company. That task is going to be for thousands of people. And I think that's where you can be a little bit more nimble and grow a little quicker. And then if you want to jump around or transfer to different spaces, you can do that and you'll have the full experience in that. I thought that was really interesting. And then even to go into like entertainment and sports is like very fascinating space, a little bit space. Entertainment is like really fast paced, I feel like, and everything that's going on and built around these events and experiences. So I felt like that's really unique. How do you balance, and we talked about the work life balance a little bit, but I wanted to go into a little bit more depth of how did you balance self-care throughout that time? Because for us, we always talk about self-care being a journey, not just a location, but you grow within that because you learn and develop and find more parts about who you are. So how did you grow within that space?
I realize self care is so important because if you're empty and you haven't been taking care of who you are mentally, spiritually, financially, you will have nothing to give on the job. Absolutely nothing. You will feel burnt out. And then people around you will be able to notice, and it can affect your performance. So, I mean, I've dibbled and dabbled in so many self care routines, but I feel like I finally found the one that fits my lifestyle, that fits my everyday life, and really works with my schedule. So yes, like you mentioned before, you can start off doing so many things. I used to, before the pandemic, I used to go to Barnes and Noble and just sit there all day and feed my mind with so many different books. I wouldn't buy it, but I would just pile them on the table, sit there for 12 hours and just read through as much information that I feel can feed my mind and soul. And as of recently, I've been working out like a maniac, and I love like going for long walks in the park, like 5 mile, 6 mile walks in the park. I love doing those hardcore fitness classes. Because it's really a mindset thing. Just when I think I can't do one more push-up, I go ahead and do it. And that's the same thing in my workplace. When there's challenges, I'll tell myself I can't deal with this, but then I know that I can because it's just what your mind tells yourself to do. So wherever your mind goes, that's where it grows. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's how I kind of combine my self-care and my work-life balance. And I make sure I get it. Like if I'm having a horrible week, and that happens sometimes as humans, I will take that personal time. I think people forget they can take vacation and personal time because they're so focused on their work, but I utilize it as much as possible if necessary. So definitely taking those personal days, taking those vacation days, finding a self-care routine that works. So in the morning, I do wake up. I am a faith-based Christian, so I do play a little music. I meditate a lot. I read the Bible. I make sure I'm praying. And the exercise routine, making sure I'm taking those long, beautiful walks, getting into nature, seeing things outside of my 9 to 5, and things of that nature has really helped me with the balance. So if that doesn't happen, it can throw me off for the day. So I make sure I make it a point to add that into my day.
I relate to you as well. I spend my first 2 hours of the day, prayer, meditation, even maybe a little sermon. And it just aligns me, right? It really keeps me focused. And when I don't do it, I feel so off. And when I do it, I feel like in great alignment. So I understand that.
Yes, yes. I also play, like the Les Browns and those motivational speakers. I just leave that on for like 20 minutes to get started on the day because it really just shifts your mindset. That's what this everyday life is about, is what your mind is telling you to do and how strong it is. And just getting that information in at the beginning of the day definitely bleeds through the rest of the environments that I've been in. Like you said, entertainment is fast paced. Working at Amazon is super fast paced. So getting that time to just hone in on what makes you happy and fills up your mind is super great.
That's so awesome to hear about. So just moving on a little bit, you've told us about your kind of expansive journey through HR. So could you touch on maybe some of the favorite projects you've had a chance to work on at all these different organizations?
Oh, yes. I've had a lot of favorite things that have happened. So working at the amusement park was like, I had so many great highlights there. And working in sports and entertainment, of course, you're seeing, I'm in Dallas. So if you're a Dallas Mavs fan, I'm really not into sports, but the company, when you're in HR, you just cannot know HR. You have to understand the industry, you have to understand the business, you have to get down and dirty with the company as a whole. But just to start off with the amusement park, one of my favorite things I did there was hiring international students from all over the world. Being that the amusement park is only seasonal, it's only during the summertime, so we were able to partner with different cultural exchange programs and hire kids from China, Thailand, Russia, Turkey, Taiwan to come and experience New York for the summertime, work with our customers, and then by the end of the summer, they were able to go back and take those soft and hard skills back to their countries, and become this wonderful professional. But what they allowed us to do was they flew us out to these countries to do the interviews. Like, I got a free trip to Thailand and I interviewed about 30 eager Thailand kids from Thailand, who were looking to get into these positions, customer experience positions. And it was just such a great thing to watch, to see how they would come at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season, they were New Yorkers. They were able to really expand the English language, but by the end of the summer, all the what is it? All the swag talk. They had it by the end of the summer, which was so interesting to see them develop and grow into. But at the same time, they made some long life pen pals. And just bringing those cultures together during the summertime and having them understand, how their country works, how their culture works, and the same thing with them understanding how New York works as a whole was amazing. So just bringing all those countries over, young, eager professionals ready to get into what New York, Brooklyn has to offer was really an amazing experience. I think we hired about 190 international students for the summer, but it was just great. It was really, really amazing to have that. And then just working in entertainment, seeing like Dirk randomly walk by, or Gordon Ramsay. At one time, he was there for a show, for a Phil Collins show. I had him walk into the wrong bathroom. He was asking for the bathroom. I sent him to the employee bathroom by accident because I was just so nervous. We see Mark Cuban walk by. So just having those experiences have been amazing. And just knowing your industry that you want to work in too. So being that I love fast-paced environments, I love surprises like that. That's what has allowed me to stay within the entertainment industry for a long time. So that was just a few.
Well, I gotta say, as a Dirk Nowitzki fan and a Gordon Ramsay fan and a Mark Cuban fan, that's probably like the coolest thing I've heard in like a long time. So kudos to you for getting to have such an awesome experience there. So my next question actually is going to stem a little off my interest. So I am actually very interested in becoming an HR VP, and I'm very fascinated in mending the needs of the employee with the needs of the organization as well. So including somebody like me, but also a lot of other IO, HR, HRBP hopefuls, what advice would you give to us if we wanted to jump into that role, say tomorrow?
So it takes time to get into a human resources business partner role, but if you begin polishing the right skills and leveraging best practices, you can definitely get in there and hit the ground running. So as I mentioned, I did have a progressive career in HR, and what I learned along the way is really being emotionally intelligent to all people at all levels and really learning the business, and building relationships. Relationship building is very important. So if you're someone who doesn't like people, then this is not the job for you. You have to love people. You have to love interacting with them. You have to love collaborating with them, just to get to the business goals. So, for example, as soon as I get into an organization, I understand who the leaders are and I build those relationships immediately. I get in contact with them, and understand what their pain points are and how I can support them, so that, through my journey in the company, it will be an amazing one. Being that we have to partner with leaders to really understand the business objective and get to that goal, there's going to have to be a lot of buy-in from leadership to even get my ideas across the board. So making sure when I get in the first 6 months, I am learning that leader inside and out. And again, learning the team and, who on the team needs some extra development, who on the team is ready for the next level and doing that succession planning, just in case the goal of the company is to expand and having those leaders in place to do so. Really understanding employee relations, how to deal with different type of associates. So at Amazon, we have 2,200 people that fill the building, and being able to be emotionally intelligent for all of their personalities is really important. Another thing you really want to do is really stay up to date with what's going on in society that may affect the business. Even though you're a human resources professional and you're focused on people, you are, having to partner on the financial side of things, on the economic side of things, just so that you can help position the company for success. So I would definitely say relationship building, emotionally intelligence, being patient. You have to be patient, especially if you're going into a large employee population, and just really understanding the business, and having that strong financial and business acumen that can carry you to success throughout the company and throughout the position. So those are some things I would say you would want to gear down first. And you can find places where you can grow these skills. Whether you're reading a book by Daniel Goldman on emotional intelligence, whether you're just taking some of these LinkedIn courses. I think LinkedIn right now has a learning on how to be a human resources business partner. So if you want to get ahead of the game to understand what skills are needed to get there, that'll be really important for you. I know some people are getting their certifications, their SHRM CP, PHR, and just having that knowledge to make you successful in the position will definitely, definitely help. And having that growth mindset, being thought provoking, thinking outside the box so that we can differentiate ourselves from the competition. So that's something that's very much so needed.
Great advice. Great advice. I feel like a lot of that, one, there's a lot that people can do just to even get started in that space. And that can help to polish, like you said, polish up those skills and get them into the right space that they want to, eventually become a part of. Um, and before we wrap up, I want to ask, one of our famous questions that we always do at the end. Based on, let's say, these last few days or maybe the last week or so, what song, artist, or album would you use to describe those last few days or weeks? And this is for everyone to answer. So whoever would like to start.
Okay. I guess for the past few days in a week, and like I said, I'm a grad student. I'm about to graduate in a few weeks, so the amount of work I have to do has been very intense of late. So the type of, I guess, artist that I think that would kind of define the past few weeks or something that'll help me just kind of de-stress, de-steam, if you will, is probably Sublime. If you guys know that band, that's my dad and I's absolute favorite band. It's one of those bands. It's not just a band because they incorporate so many different types of genres, whether it's ska, reggae, hip hop, rock, punk. So it's kind of like any kind of mood or feeling you're in, there's always a song for it. And this guy, may he rest in peace, he always had such a way with his words that was so like in your face and brutal, but like so real. So it almost feels like someone's kind of taking your thoughts out of your head and expressing it in their own way. So I think Sublime, it has to be the answer for me.
Hmm. I like that explanation. That was good. That was good. Cassie, do you want to go next or you want me to go? Okay. And then we'll finish it off with you. I'm going to pick an artist. I've actually never picked an artist in this question, but one of my favorite rap groups, Griselda, who come out of Buffalo, New York, um, they've had a very strong impact on the game. But I'm going to relate these last few days to Conway the Machine, who is probably the lesser known out of the whole group. And he dropped his last project, and I was listening to it on my way back from New York, ironically. And he was talking about how, he's always looking for his respect as a very precise and intelligent rapper. And I related to that because as Dim Events transitions from doing experiential marketing into this new space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, whatever they want to call it, I think we're always looking for our respect in that space because we build communities, and we've built a very unique internship community that no company has seemed to do. And I think we're unique in that space. So, yeah.
That is nice. That is really nice. Okay, so for me, right now would be Kanye West. I like the guy a lot. I think he's a genius. I think sometimes he can be misunderstood, and he says things that can put him in the hot seat. But I think he's a lyrical genius. And one song that I always love to bring up is his song Power, only because it gets me going in the morning. It gets me going before I work out. It gets me going before I go to work. And some of the lines he mentioned here, I have it pulled up. Well, his first few lines is, I'm living in the 21st century, doing something mean to it, do it better than anybody I ever seen do it. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to look to the left. I don't want to look to the right. I want to hone in on what I do best and make sure I do it better than I've ever seen anybody do it. And then he says, screams from the haters got a nice ring to it. For you to take, the energy from the haters and turn it into something positive. I don't have haters, but the fact that he's able to make something positive out of something so negative and still feel like he has the power to do anything possible that he wants to do is something that I always align with. So it would be Kanye West Power for the week and probably the next few weeks.
Wow. That is what's crazy is my dark twisted fantasy has come up, I think, in like out of the last 3 podcast episodes. One was Good Friday because they were talking about how like during that time he dropped a song every Friday, and I'm there with you. See, I think Cassie, me and you, we both African, we both like Kanye West. You know what? I think we can be friends because you understand Kanye. You understand Kanye.
He's a genius. He's a genius.
That's what I tell people. They just don't see it. He misunderstood. That's okay. It's okay. Well, we want to thank you so much for jumping on here and sharing so much great insight and knowledge and advice. Like, we always like to give our people a round of applause. So thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, because you killed it. You came on here, gave some great energy. And if people have any questions, where can they find you at?
Well, I live on LinkedIn. I live there. I think that's where the true party is, especially if you're a new professional and you're trying to make your way through the industry that you really want to get through, or whether you are an experienced professional like myself and you want to position yourself as a thought leader in your field. LinkedIn is where the party truly is. So if you put in my full name, Cassie, Cassie, Ademola in Dallas, I should be the only one that pops up. I also live on Instagram for my business, My Professional Agenda. So if you put that in, My Professional Agenda, my Instagram should pop up. I have so much value when it comes to resumes and LinkedIn to position you of authority in your field. So you can find me on Instagram. And I'm trying to get into this Pinterest thing. I heard that you can really grow your business and reach a lot of people on Pinterest, but I haven't done it yet. So that'll be my last place once I get it all together. But we can start off on LinkedIn and Instagram for sure.
Beautiful. Well, y'all heard it there. Y'all can find Cassie. And thank you all for listening, whether this is your morning routine, afternoon routine, or the routine you do before you go to sleep. We are out. Skirt, skirt.